Hello and welcome to Problem Solving with Java. I had posted a little question on my blog about a population, and I'll put in the comments here some of the details about it. Let's see. There is a birth every 3 seconds. There is a death every 7 seconds. The current population is, let me look at that number. It was quite a big one here. Let's see. $7,382,965,384. All right. Now, we've got to give the population in 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And assume there are 365 days in each year. In other words, we're not going to account for leap years here. It'll make the math a little bit easier, especially for people that are pretty new. Now, if you created a new project, then you probably already have your main method on here if you're using NetBeans. I just put a new file on here, so I'm going to have to manually type out that main method. Just public static void main open parentheses capitalized string. Java is case sensitive, so if you see me capitalize something, that means you need to capitalize it too. And args open curly bracket. If you're using NetBeans, when you hit enter, it will give you your closing bracket right there. If not, you'll have to make sure you add that in. Now, in order to solve this problem, we're going to have to create some variables. And the first one will be the population variable. And this will be a long data type. So long population equals, and 7, do not put commas, just put the numbers in. Okay, and then since this is a long data type, put a capital L behind the number and then put your semicolon. You can use a lowercase L right there, but it looks too much like a 1, so I always use uppercase. Now, add some space here so it'll be easier to see. All right, now we have to figure out how many births there are in a 10-year period. We're going to make this a double, and we'll call it births in decade. Okay, equals, all right, we got 365 days in a year, so we'll put 365. We'll multiply that by 10, and that will give us the amount of days that are in a 10-year period. Then to get the hours, we will multiply that by 24. To get the minutes, we'll multiply that by 60. And to get the seconds, we'll multiply that again by 60. Now you can see I got all these parentheses up here. It's just to keep my math correct. Then outside that last parentheses, divide by 3. And that will account for the births in a 10-year period. I named it births in decade. Now, we will need to account for the deaths, and we will do that the same way, double. Deaths in decade equals 4 sets of parentheses, 365 times 10, outside one parentheses times 24, outside another parentheses times 60, outside another one times 60 again, and then divide that by 7, semicolon at the end. Now, as you can see in Java, you don't have to do the math yourself. You just have to tell the program to do the math for you. So as long as you know the steps that you need to take, you can write a program successfully to do this math. Now, we're supposed to figure out the 10-year mark, the 20-year mark, and 30-year mark. So in order to do this, we'll create some variables to store it, and we will call them the double population in in 10 years equals population plus births in decade minus deaths in decade, semicolon. Now, to get our 20-year mark, we'll say double population in 20. Population in 20 years equals population in 10 years plus births in decade minus deaths in decade. Put your semicolon. And you will do this for the last one too. Double population in 30 years equals population in 20 years plus births in decade minus deaths in decade. And now we have all of our figures. So in order to see this, we're going to print it out, and we'll use a little string in front of it to kind of separate it a little better for us. the way you print out is system, capitalized system, dot out, dot print, ln, open parentheses, open quotations, the current population is, then you can put a colon or whatever, and then put a space after that. Then outside your quotation, but inside the parentheses, say plus population. Below that, capitalize system, dot out, dot print ln, open quotation, the population in 10 years will be, colon, space, outside your quotation, plus population in 10 years. Below that, we'll do the same thing for 20 years. System.out.print ln, open quotation, the population in, well, make it a little shorter, 20 years will be, colon, space, plus population in 20 years. And if you're using NetBeans to verify that you type that right, you can see every time that I type a variable, it highlights where that variable is used again. So if you have a typo, you will not see those highlighted. It will shoot you an error as well. System.out.print in, open quotation, the population in 30 years will be, colon, space, plus population in 30 years. Now, when we run this, you're going to notice that it's going to be probably a 7 and then a decimal point and then a lot of numbers back behind that, and then it'll say like E9 or something like that. And that is the way that Java does scientific notation. All right, see, we start out, this one here, since I gave it the long data type, is showing the number as it is. Well, right here at 10 years, it says 7 point, blah, 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 and then at the end it says E9. Well, that is just 10 to the 9th power. So you'll move that decimal place over 10 places to get where that decimal belongs. So that would be, or 9 places, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 9, which would be at the end of it. So if you were to move that decimal place right there before the E and after the 6, that would be that number. All right. And that is how you solve that problem. I hope that you have enjoyed this little lesson. Solving problems can be fun with programming languages. It can save you a lot of math. As long as you know the steps you need to take, like we did right here, you don't actually have to crunch those numbers out. It will do it for you. You just have to tell it to do it. There's a few ways that we could have tackled this problem. I felt like this way was pretty straightforward, just making these variables. We could have created a method that would have done this math every 10 years. Um, but I like trying to keep my programs pretty short. And since this is probably not a method I will use in the future, I didn't see the sense in creating a method for it. But check out my website, straighttoitprogramming.com. And good luck learning Java. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on my site or post them in the comments. I will try to get back to you as quick as I can.